Hello and welcome to Open Line. Tonight we are talking about teen violence in dating, because today, February, is the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. That is kind of a tongue twister there.
Yeah.
For people who weren't tuning in early on in the hour, I want to just refresh people on the signs that parents should really be looking out for, and to realize, you know what, they need help.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think some of the signs that you always look for revolve around power and control. Mm-hmm. That's at the basis. If your teen is in a relationship and there's always belittling and put downs and things being said and done to make a person feel small, that's important to note. It's important to note if there's a great big push to control everything that goes on, where a teen might go, who they might speak with, what they might wear, all those different things, who they can hang out with, how often they can talk to them. Those are important things to note. I think parents just have to, unfortunately, be a little nosy. You just have to ask questions. You have to continue to ask questions, and early on you have to build the trust so that you see different changes. You can recognize when your child is not acting the way they normally act, or the conversation that they're having on the phone looks like it's a little bit more heated or more intense than normal, or they're getting a load of texts one after the other, and they seem to be troubled by them. You know, all these things are indicators that parents who are involved with their kids, you catch on to something's wrong.
One of our callers mentioned teen deaths earlier. Do we see, I guess, how bad does the situation get, and how often do you see deaths involved within the juvenile system?
I've been with the DA's office in the juvenile court for several years at this point. I cannot recall a teen death due to domestic violence in the last few years. Thankfully, I'm trying to remember if I've had one, but I don't think I have. Yeah. So usually, I mean, you know, teens are seeing each other after school or before. They're not living together yet. And so thankfully we have not seen the level of violence progress to something that serious, but our hope is to catch it early so it doesn't end up that serious. And you know, my colleague here, Chris, has to deal with it in adult court.
Yeah. Clearly it's a different picture with adult court.
Yeah, well, I've prosecuted domestic violence murders, and I'll say one thing. I can think of, just off the top of my head, I carried 2 cases in my mind, and they were instances where I dealt with the case, and I worked on the case when it was a misdemeanor, and probably in less than a year I had to deal with a homicide. Same parties involved. I can think of 2 specific instances where that's happened, and I think what I want to emphasize with that point is that no instance of violence is too little, and it's never too early. And I'm grateful to be able to be here to talk about awareness, because I think there are a lot of things that are going on in our community, and we have to have this discussion. We have to have it within our families, but we have to have it as a community as well. We had an event on
earlier in the week on Valentine's Day, actually, where we had yesterday where we had students from a school who came and they were able to witness court. One of those courts they were able to witness was domestic violence court, and then they were able to talk with each other about and have discussions with us about some of the things that went on, and also about teen dating violence and raising awareness. And hopefully we just try to reach out to them. That discussion happening, I think, is important. And what people are seeing right now are pictures of Titans player Derek Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah. So what happened there?
Well, we were grateful, very grateful to Derek Morgan and the Titans organization. They came out and agreed to come and speak with the children, the students. Most of the students were from Lead Academy, and they were there to talk about respecting yourself and Mr. Morgan was able to give them some of his experiences and tell how he came to the point where he learned more of himself and encourage them to get on that pathway earlier. And it's very important for them to see people who are influential in the community come out and talk about these issues, and respecting yourself and respecting others and having healthy relationships. And that's the kind of thing that I think is indicative of what we need to have happen. And so General Funk came out and he spoke to the kids, and different people from our office spoke to the kids, and judges and different folks in different positions spoke to the young folks and tried to help them understand the value of who they are and the value of valuing strong, healthy relationships with friends and families and girlfriends and all of the folks you have relationships with in the community.
Was there anything Mr. Morgan said that may have resonated well with the kids? And how did the kids respond to this type of heavy topic?
Well, I think one thing that kind of cuts across all lines is statistics, and at different points and instances. There was one instance where a domestic violence situation was described, and it talked about how the situation escalated from just a mere discussion over, I want to see the password on your phone, to erupted into gunfire. And I think that is something that the young folks, they can begin to latch on to. Real people having real situations and trying to make sure that they understand this is really an issue. You have friends, if you think about a situation where 20% of teens in relationships, they experience dating violence. 20% of young ladies in teen dating relationships experience violence. That's 2 in 10. And so you think about 10 people that you know, from your school, to your church, your community. You think of your school, your circle of people, and you recognize you have to know somebody that's experiencing. You really do. And they may be keeping it quiet. They may not know how to talk about it. They may not know who to turn to. It just may be that the friend is the one shoulder they have to lean on. And so when you recognize what the signs are, when you recognize there are resources out there, when you recognize and understand the dynamic of domestic violence, and you raise this awareness, that's why it's important. Because you never know what position you're going to be placed in. And we have to recognize that people all around us are struggling and suffering. And sometimes they struggle and suffer in silence. And if they figure out that we're people that they can count on, that we're people they can come to, we're people who are going to assist them and kind of try to guide them in the right direction, then we can make a difference as a community.
And I think too, it's important to remember that with teens, this is probably their very first relationship.
Yeah.
So they may not know that it's supposed to be different.
Right.
They may think this is how it goes. So I think that's another reason that the parents, or parent, if they're a single parent, needs to talk and be like, this is how a loving relationship should go, and this is what you should expect.
I love hearing that, because then to me it always goes back to what your parents tell you. I mean, I remember my dad even disciplining us, but then he would always say why. He would always give the reason, and I think giving examples and hearing it in that kind of context can help a child.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's important not to victim shame them and make them feel less than they already do by their partner.
All right.
Yeah.
Great topic. We'll have much more coming up after the break. You're watching Open Line on News Channel 5+.
Yeah.